What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update. We're going to go into the last 24 hours of Tottenham news, and let's get straight into it. Starting off talking about Richarlison, as Give Me Sport claim that Everton have made Richarlison their first choice forward target this summer. They want him back at the club, and the new ownership at Everton are looking to make a statement signing this summer, and they feel like bringing Richarlison could be the one to go for them as well. He's a massive fan favourite and will definitely get the fans on side, that's for sure. And I think it makes sense for all parties, this one. It really does.
Yeah, the only problem would be the financials. Well, how much they're willing to spend, or how much are we willing to offload him for? Obviously, he seems to be scoring a few goals between now and the end of the season, which is good for him, good for his confidence. I think the reality with us is we just can't seem to keep him fit. For some reason, Everton were able to keep him fit, and he didn't have too many injury problems there. But here, he just hasn't, for 3 years now, just hasn't been able to get on the pitch too much, even though when he has been on the pitch, he's been pretty good. So I think it's best for everyone if he does leave and we get a good fee. I think they would love him back at Everton. They haven't really replaced him, if we're being honest, have they? They have, Calvert-Lewin hasn't really stepped up. Beto has been very hot and cold, mostly cold, if we're being honest. So I think Richarlison would be a brilliant statement signing in terms of getting, in terms of these new owners, trying to show that they want to not just keep Everton where they are, challenging for relegation, but push on from that. And I think re-signing a legend or a fan favourite would go a long way towards that, I would say.
Yeah, in terms of the financials, I don't think it'll be that much of an issue. I think Spurs would be willing to do a deal for like 25, 30 million, and I think that's probably within Everton's kind of grasp, to be honest. Premier League club, 25, 30 million is not too much these days, particularly with new ownership there that are looking to make their imprint on the club.
Yeah, for sure. We know Levy's going to try and make back as much money as possible, though. So hopefully there's a deal to be done there. Maybe it'll be like 25 or 30 plus. If he hits a certain amount of goals or league game or appearances, there could be some add-ons on there or something.
I can't see it going anywhere above 30 million. I just really can't. I think Spurs are desperate to get him out, to be honest, with the injury problems that he's had. Can't get him on the pitch. It's not to do mainly down to his performances, but mainly due to just we can't seem to get him on the pitch, and we were looking to offload him last summer. So I think Spurs will be happy to get him off the books for 30 million. I really do. Next up, we're going to talk about Yves Bissouma. Bleacher Report saying that Tottenham are willing to accept £35 million for Yves Bissouma this summer, with clubs from Saudi Arabia, Spain and Italy all interested in the 28-year-old. I mean, 35 million, I think he'll probably end up going for less than that.
Well, considering what he's got a year left. So yeah. I doubt we will have to demand that much, knowing that he could run down his contract and go on a free. So I think you're looking at 20 million, something like that. Maybe a similar fee to what we got for Højbjerg.
Yeah, that was like 15.
But yeah, 15. So, yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's something like that, considering the performance level recently has been so bad, and he seems to just have a bit of an attitude problem recently. I don't know. He just can't be trusted right now. And considering he has a year left, I think that leaves the buyers in a strong position when it comes to Bissouma. So I think something like 20. Well, I can't see it being too much more than 20, maybe 22.
The thing is, though, like when you're looking at Bissouma, when you're looking at Richarlison, I think will be more of like a club decision because of the injuries to get him out. But I don't think it's going to be based on performances. But with Bissouma, it is based on performances, right? Do you feel like if we are to change manager in the summer, a new manager could come in and be like, you know what, I could do something with Bissouma?
Potentially. I think if a new manager comes in, if it's like an Iraola, or if it's like, I reckon Marco Silva might like him, but I reckon someone like a Frank or a Iraola, I reckon they wouldn't like him. I reckon they'd want him gone.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it's just been a couple of managers now for Bissouma. It's never really worked out. We've seen like kind of signs of him being back to that Brighton best, but we've never seen it on a consistent level. So for me, no matter who the manager is, I'd like to just move him on and bring someone fresh in, to be honest. And you know my feelings on Bissouma. I've been feeling like this for a long way. Even last summer, I was saying I think we should probably sell him, but I think now it's probably accepted universally around the whole Tottenham fan base that it's probably time to move Bissouma on.
Yeah, but you never know when it comes to certain managers and certain players. Like when Arteta came into Arsenal, everyone was ready to get rid of Xhaka, and everyone he'd been there for many years and never really been good for a number of years, and everyone was ready to part ways. And he'd also done that thing with the crowd, didn't he? Cupped his ear to the crowd and all that kind of stuff, and the relationship was completely broken down. And Arteta came in and completely revived him. And I know he ended up leaving anyway, but he was brilliant for a couple of years under Arteta. And, you just never know when a new manager comes in. You might have a look at him and think, I need this guy, and maybe get a tune out of him. So you can never rule anything out in football, I would say.
Yeah, that's also true. In terms of incomings, we got a couple to speak about. Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are showing a keen interest in Sporting's Denmark midfielder Morton Hjulmand. Spurs have been tracking the 24-year-old who was impressed at the Euro 2024 last summer. Look, we have spoken about it a couple of times. It goes back to that Arsenal tattoo that he does have, which doesn't sit right with me. But I think in terms of a profile of the player, I think he's someone we desperately need within the squad.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's very much a consistent player, I think, from what I've seen. And I think the problem I have with him is I'm not sure if he's the guy we want if we were to get a new defence midfielder. I like, is he another kind of Ugarte type where he might struggle with the pace of the league? That's what I'm feeling potentially. But I do think if you maybe get the right players around him, he could be a very good player.
Mm. Yes, it's hard to know really when you're coming from a different league. But he does seem a bit more mobile than Ugarte, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe.
Moving on, we're going to talk about a very interesting player here, Ryan Cherki of Lyon. Caught Offside says Spurs are leading the race to sign sensational Lyon star Ryan Cherki this summer, who has a £25 million release clause. And on top of that, Lyon are in a bit of financial issues as well. So they are looking to sell ahead of the summer window. I mean, this guy, he's always had kind of a question mark to his name, hasn't he, with the attitude problems that he's shown in the past. But this season, he's really seemed to kick on.
Yeah, and he's still young, so he's even playing for the under-21. So, players change a lot, in that kind of point in their career, in their early to mid-20s. So just because he's got certain problems right now doesn't mean he'll continue to have them. Some players do, like you've got players like Ravel Morrison who had the world at his feet and he just couldn't kind of shake these problems that he had for one reason or another and never fulfilled his potential. But Cherki at the moment is playing extremely well. A lot of teams are after him, and he's playing consistently, getting goals and assists. And the guy is an absolute box of tricks and one of the best talents, I think, out there right now. So I think you could argue it's worth the risk, even though, you could argue, do you want to bring a player with that kind of attitude into the club? But if you can get his head right, you've got a potentially world-class talent there. So
his head does seem to be right, though, this season. That's what I'm saying. I think this season he's really started to kick on. He's pretty much the main man at Lyon. 18 goal contributions this season, 10 assists and 8 goals. And that's just in the league. He's got plenty in European football and the cup competitions as well. At 25 million, I mean, I think it's well worth doing that because you're talking about a player with very, very high potential here. And if we do go and bring him in, it's like we're building the French under-21 team. You've got Tell on the left, Odegaard on the right, Cherki in behind as well. Could get worse teams together, you know what I mean?
Sure. Look, I think it would be worth the risk at that price, I would say. For sure. But I can understand if maybe when they do background checks, whatever, and they look at it and think, maybe there's a bit of a problem there, but I think I would take the risk on it just on face value. If I don't know him personally, if I'm just looking at the talent, I think at that price is worth the risk.
And he's a player that comes in for 25 million, but as soon as he walks through the door, he's already worth like probably close to double that, if not a bit less, like 40 million probably. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the Villarreal winger Yeremy Pino, as our favourite publication, Fijaques, are saying that Pino could end up parting ways with Villarreal this summer, as there is a significant amount of interest in his services from clubs in the Premier League. Everton, Tottenham and Bournemouth are all keen on securing his signature, and their interest could make it difficult for the Spanish club to retain the promising young winger. And again, he's a player that has shown signs of promise over the last couple of years, but this year he seemed to have really kicked on as well.
Yeah, which is great because last year, didn't he suffer? I think he suffered a very serious injury last year. I think he may have marked it his ACL. And so you never really know how players are going to recover, especially players like wingers who rely on like explosivity and trickery and sharpness. And the fact that he's kind of come back and done pretty well is a really great sign for him. And look, from what I can see, he's got 2 goals, 8 assists in this season for Villarreal, which obviously is not incredible numbers, but it shows that he's capable of coming back into the team and getting goals and assists again. He seems to be getting better as the season's gone on as well. So I think we haven't seen the best of him, maybe just yet. He's still quite young. I think he was a player I remember I was quite keen on before he picked up that injury. I was looking at him thinking this guy's got a serious talent, and we needed a winger. So if he's getting back to his best and we feel like next year can be even better, then maybe we could be getting him at a good time potentially. But I think he's a kind of winger I'm very interested in.
Yeah, and you look at him, right, and since coming back to form this season, he's got call-ups to the national team off the back of that. And he's played, I think, 2 games for Spain for the Nations League. He scored a goal as well in one of those appearances. I mean, you don't get a call-up for Spain if you're not a special player, you know what I mean? Like, Spain are stacked full of talent, aren't they? Particularly in the attacking areas. So if you can get a Yeremy Pino on the wing, again, I think that's really good business for Tottenham.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe because he's come back and had a decent season, but he hasn't maybe, been his absolute best because he's obviously come back from an injury. But you could get him maybe a better price than maybe next year if he really explodes after season, recovering from that injury happened, and then next season he'll probably be a lot better. So I think it could be a good time to get him, but then it's also a risk because there's also a risk of him never getting back to his best or never really fulfilling his potential after that big injury. So it can go both ways, but. I think from what I've seen from him in this season, there's definitely signs that this kid is getting back there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the barefaced numbers that you mentioned, like he is enjoying in terms of his goal and assists output, probably his best season to date.
Well, I can see here the season before he got 4 goals, 6 assists. I guess per 90, you would say yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, those are the news articles for today doing the rounds. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.